Okay, welcome to the new chapter, biomolecules. Ready? So first of all, you have to know what is a biomolecule. Biomolecules are chemicals which found in living organisms. Okay, so what are biomolecules? They are chemicals found in living organisms. Chemicals which are found in living organisms. Okay, so biomolecules are chemicals which are found in living organisms. Ready? And mainly the chemical composed of, chemical means something which is formed by the combination of atoms. And what kind of atoms are present in a biomolecule means mainly it composed of what? Composed of elements like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, etc. Okay? Ready? Okay, fine. And they are the building blocks of living organisms. Okay, so they are the essential part in living organisms. Ready? Living organisms. Fine. Okay, keep it as an introduction. Fine. In this chapter, we have to discuss the biomolecules like carbohydrate. Number 2, proteins. Number 3, vitamins. Number 4, enzymes. Number 5, nucleic acid. So these are the important biomolecules as per your textbook, according to your textbook. Ready? So let's discuss the one by one. First of all, carbohydrate. Okay. So let's have a detailed discussion about the carbohydrate. Listen. Carbohydrate. Okay. Let's me define what is a carbohydrate. There are two different types of definitions for your carbohydrate. The first one is an older definition. The older definition is that carbohydrate are hydrates of carbon. They are hydrates of carbon. So carbohydrates are the hydrates of carbon. They are the hydrates of carbon with a formula. They are the hydrates of carbon with a formula. What? The formula is actually CX. Let the number of carbon is X, and it is hydrated by Y molecule of H2O. And this is the belief in earlier. Ready? That means this is the older definition. They are hydrate means some water molecule is added to a particular component. So they are the hydrates of carbon. So carbon is addition with some kind of H2O molecule. This is the earlier concept. Ready? But there are some limitations for this concept. That is, formaldehyde, acetic acid, lactic acid. What are they? Formaldehyde, acetic acid, lactic acid. What about formaldehyde? Formaldehyde having the formula C1H2O1, which satisfies the formula, right? What about acetic acid? Acetic acid also satisfies the formula C2H2O twice. The next is propanoic acid. Sorry, lactic acid. It's not propanoic acid, lactic acid. Lactic acid also satisfies the formula C3H2O thrice. Okay, fine. These all satisfied the formula, which means they all satisfied the formula of hydrates of carbon, but they are not belongs to what? They are entirely different compound, aldehydes and carboxylic acid. Okay, so not belongs to what? Your carbohydrate. So this is not a carbohydrate, but it satisfies the formula. Like that, I have two examples. One with a C5H10O4, which is said to be the very familiar carbohydrate sugar unit called deoxyribose. I think you know that. Deoxyribose is the sugar unit which found in DNA. And the next is rhamnose. This is a composition of rhamnose. The rhamnose and deoxyribose both are what? They are carbohydrate. They belongs to carbohydrate, but their formula not satisfied with the hydrate of carbon. So they belongs to carbohydrate. Okay, not satisfying formula. They are carbohydrate but not satisfying formula. So the concept is okay that anything having a formula of hydrate of carbon is not belongs to what? Carbohydrate. Okay. Some of them can satisfy the formula, but they are not carbohydrate. Some of them are do not satisfy the formula, but belongs to carbohydrate. So this definition or this concept is not enough for the defining what? Carbohydrate. Ready? So let me discuss the next definition or the modern definition that is based on the optical activity experimental study. Okay. So the modern definition is that carbohydrates are optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde or ketone. So what is actually a carbohydrate? They are optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde or ketone. That's exactly a carbohydrate. Okay, fine. So modern definition. Let me define the modern definition. In modern trend, this is defined like that. They are optically active. Carbohydrates are optically active polyhydroxy. They are optically active compound, moreover polyhydroxy compound. They are optically active polyhydroxy aldehydes or ketone. They are either optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde or ketone. Optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde or ketone. Optically active means there may have asymmetric carbons, optical centers, asymmetric carbon, chiral centers. Polyhydroxy means there are number of OH groups are there. Fine. Aldehyde means the main function group is either an aldehyde or a ketone. Or molecules on hydrolysis. Either this is a carbohydrate or any molecule which on hydrolysis can form the above. Can form the above means can form the optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde or ketone. If I have a compound which on hydrolysis can produce optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde or ketone, they are also said to be carbohydrate. So your carbohydrate either it is optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde or ketone, or any molecule which can produce optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde or ketone on hydrolysis also said to be carbohydrate. Okay, fine. And let me define that point. If aldehyde, if that optically active polyhydroxy compound, carbonyl compound is an aldehyde, then the carbohydrate is known as aldose. And if the optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde is, if the optically active polyhydroxy carbonyl is ketone, then that compound is said to be ketones. Okay, fine. Ready? So let's discuss the structure of glucose. This is actually the structure of glucose. Okay, we will discuss. This is in a detailed pattern. Ready? This is actually glucose having 6 carbons. The one is an aldehyde, another ones are alcohols. So there are number of OH groups, and here there is 4 chiral centers are there. This CHOH 4 times all are chiral centers. So here it's actually a 4 asymmetric carbon. That's why the molecule is optically active. This is a structure called glucose. We all know that glucose belongs to a carbohydrate. So this have asymmetric carbons, say 4 asymmetric carbon, and this is an aldehyde and have number of OH groups. So this is a polyhydroxy optically active aldehyde. This is an aldose. Glucose is an aldose. And if you are considering the molecule fructose, fructose is something like this. Listen. Okay, so fructose is a ketone. Fructose is a ketone. Ketonic function group. Ready? So belongs to polyhydroxy ketone called ketose. So fructose is a ketose. Ready? With a ketonic function group. And there are actually 3 asymmetric carbons. 3 asymmetric carbons are there. Actually, there are 3 asymmetric carbons. Okay, fine. So this is the actual definition of what? Carbohydrate. Your carbohydrate is either optically active, it's not either, it should be optically active. Normally it should be optically active, polyhydroxy, aldehyde or ketone. Okay, normally there are some exceptions are also there. Okay, fine. So that's all about the definition of your carbohydrate. So let's discuss the examples for your carbohydrate. Examples for your carbohydrate. Okay. I'm sorry, it's not examples, classification of carbohydrate. So the next is classification of carbohydrates. Classification of carbohydrate. So classification of carbohydrate. Ready? In the first classification, that is based on number of hydrolyzable unit. Based on the number of hydrolyzable unit. Okay, if a carbohydrate can provide more than 1 hydrolyzable unit, then it is said to be disaccharide. More than, if it can provide 3 units, then it is said to be trisaccharide, tetrasaccharide, like that. Okay, if your carbohydrate is not able to form any hydrolyzable unit, which means that is a simpler part, then it is said to be monosaccharide. So, saccharides means sugar. Okay, your carbohydrate have sweet taste, so that's why they are said to be sugar. Okay, so saccharum, that's a Greek word. Saccharum means sugar. Okay, so saccharide means that's an alternate name of your sugar carbohydrates. So carbohydrates also known as saccharides. Okay, so based on the hydrolyzable unit, based on the number of hydrolyzable unit, your carbohydrates can be classified into 3. Number 1, monosaccharide. Number 1 is monosaccharide. Monosaccharide means that is the simplest carbohydrate which is not further hydrolyzable. Okay, so this is a non-hydrolyzable one. Monosaccharides are non-hydrolyzable sugar unit, saccharides. Non-hydrolyzable means they are the simplest unit. Okay, and they have the general molecular formula of carbohydrates can be written in the form CN H2O n times. CN H2O n times. Okay, CN H2O n times. Ready? Where your n have a variation from 3 to 7. N can be varied from 3 to 7. Okay, N have a possibility for the variation from 3 to 7. Ready? So, based on 3 to 7, we can classify the carbohydrate. Based on the category of 3 to 7, we can classify the carbohydrate. Which means your monosaccharide is further classified into different units. Monosaccharide can be classified into different units. Okay. If your n equal to 3, n equal to 4, n equal to 5, n equal to 6, n equal to 7, then let's check what are the categories. If n equal to 3, then the category is known as triose. If that is an aldehyde, then it is said to be aldotriose. That is an aldehyde. If N equal to 3, that is an optically active polyhydroxy aldehyde with the number of carbon 3. Then it is said to be aldotriose. And the example for aldotriose is glyceraldehyde. What it is? Glyceraldehyde. Okay. If N is 3 and the compound is a ketone, then it is said to be ketotriose. Ketotriose. What the example is? Dihydroxyacetone. But that is not actually an optically active compound, but glyceraldehyde is an optically active compound. If N equal to 4, then the category is known as tetrose. If it is aldehyde, then it is said to be aldotetrose. If it is ketone, then it is known as ketotetrose. Aldehyde, aldotetrose, ketone, ketotetrose. An example for aldotetrose is erythrose triose. Erythrose triose. An example for ketotetrose is erythrulose. Erythrulose. And if N is 5, then the category called pentose. If it is an aldehyde, aldopentose. Aldopentose. Aldopentose are something with examples: ribose, lysose, xylose, arabinose. These are the different aldopentose. Okay, fine. And the next is ketopentose. Ketopentose are cellulose, ribulose. Cellulose and ribulose. Okay. If N is 6, then they are called hexose. Hexose, aldohexose. Aldohexose are examples of aldohexose. Means our glucose category. There are 8 examples: glucose, gulose, galactose, allose, altrose, talose, idose, mannose. So these are the 8 examples in aldohexose. And like that, ketohexose also the ketohexose. Okay, among these 8, these are important: glucose, galactose, mannose. What about the ketohexose? Ketohexose have 4 category. That's fructose, sucrose, sorbose, tactose. Okay, and one more is if N equal to 7, let me write on the top, then it is said to be heptose. But usually heptose are not discussed well. And if it is aldehyde, aldoheptose. Ketone, ketoheptose. Like that. Ketone, ketoheptose. Ready? Aldoheptose, ketoheptose. Aldoheptose having an example of manoheptosa. Manoheptosa. Ketoheptose having an example pseudoheptulose. Manoheptulose, pseudoheptulose. Here the example is manoheptosa. Okay. The next is, this is the first category in your based on classification based on hydrolyzable category. This is the first one. Okay, first one means non-hydrolyzable unit called the monosaccharide, where the monosaccharide is classified again into different category. Okay, fine. And the next is the second category. If we can hydrolyze the carbohydrate into more than 2 units or more than 1 unit, called the oligosaccharide. Okay, so 2 to 10 units, mainly 2 to 10 units on hydrolyzed. When the carbohydrate hydrolyzed, it can form 2 to 10 units, then they are called a oligosaccharide. Okay, if 2 units are there, then that is said to be disaccharide. Usually they are known as disaccharide. Okay, with the formula C12 H22 O11. Ready? And examples for the disaccharides are sucrose, maltose, lactose, cellobiose. Sucrose having monosaccharides of glucose and fructose. Both the simple unit is monosaccharide, you know. So here is glucose and fructose. Here it is in maltose, glucose and glucose. In lactose, glucose and galactose. In cellobiose, glucose and glucose. Okay, fine. But this is different. Maltose, there is alpha glucose. Beta in cellobiose, there is actually beta glucose. We will discuss that. Okay, we will discuss that. We will discuss about what is alpha glucose, what is beta glucose. Ready? So if it is 2 unit of called disaccharide with the formula C12 H22 O11. Ready? C12 H22 O11. Fine. These are the main important disaccharide. If it is from 2 to 10, then it is oligosaccharide. So let me discuss some important oligosaccharides. This is the first category, disaccharide. And the second category, if it is 3 units, then it is said to be trisaccharide. What it is? Trisaccharide. And the example for the trisaccharide, that is raffinose. Raffinose with the formula C18 H32 O16. Well, the raffinose, the monosaccharide units in raffinose is actually 3. That is glucose, fructose, galactose. Okay, like that, if there are 4 units, then that is said to be tetrasaccharide. If there are 4 units, then the carbohydrate is known as tetrasaccharide. And the best example for the tetrasaccharide is stachyose. What it is? Stachyose. Stachyose with the formula C24 H42 O21, where the monosaccharide units are glucose, fructose, 2 molecules of galactose. So total of 4. Okay. The next is listen. One more. 5 units. 5 units said to be pentasaccharide. And the example for pentasaccharide is verbascose. Example for pentasaccharide is verbascose. Verbascose having a formula C30 H52 O26. And the monosaccharide units are glucose, fructose, and 3 molecules of galactose. 3 molecule of galactose. So these are the monosaccharides. Okay, so from 2 to 10, that is said to be oligosaccharide. And if it's more than 10, then that is known as polysaccharide actually. Okay, so one more is the in this category. The third one, the third classification based on hydrolyzable unit, that is the third saccharide, that is polysaccharides. Polysaccharides. Polysaccharide means more than what? More than 10 units. Okay, so there will be more than 10 units which are hydrolyzed. So on hydrolysis, there may be forms more than 10 units. Okay, and examples are starch. Okay, starch have the monosaccharide unit glucose. The next is cellulose. Cellulose also have glucose. Next is glycogen. Glycogen also have glucose. The next is inulin. Inulin is the source of fructose. So these are the general molecular polysaccharides or important polysaccharide. And the general molecular formula of polysaccharides are usually like this: C6 H10O5, all of n times. Okay, so there is actually NH2 is missing to form n molecule of C6H12O6. Ready? So that's a formula. N times, where n is actually, it's not actually 11. More than 10 unit means it doesn't mean that there is a polysaccharide with 11 carbon. So general talk, okay. So n maybe varies from 100 to 3000 usually. Okay, fine. So that's all about the first classification of monosaccharide, that is based on the hydrolyzable unit. The next classification is simply based on reducing property.